What's up, guys? It's your man Donovan Sharp, and welcome to this edition of TSR Live presented by Happy Hippo Herbals. Well, let's get to it, guys. My guest today is a man who was running game before it was even called game. This guy developed his own way of verbally communicating his romantic desires, interests, and intentions to women that he refers to as the Mode 1 approach. A number of his female followers have nicknamed him the King of Verbal Seduction. That's quite the distinction. He was the host of his own podcast called Upfront and Straightforward for 9 years on Blog Talk Radio, and he now hosts an adults-only podcast entitled The Erotic Conversationalist. His latest audiobook, which I have read and listened to, called The Beta Male Revolution, Why Men Have Totally Lost Interest in Marriage in Today's Society, is an extremely educational book, and I would highly recommend checking that out. So please join me in welcoming special guest, Alan Roger Currie. Alan, it's been a while. How you doing, man?
Thank you, Brother Donovan. Thank you for having me. This is my third interview with you, but this will be my first one since you've had your YouTube channel.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I've come a long way. It's funny, man. When I started showing my face and people actually believed that I was black, I got more subscribers. Who knew? I said, wait a minute, this guy is actually black. Let's go and hit the subscribe button. But all jokes aside, though, man, it's been good. It's been up and coming. So let's go ahead and get right into the meat of things. You and another black YouTuber, Mumia Obsidian Ali, you guys had a beef going on. I don't know what the genesis of that beef was, but this is just a two-part question. Are you and Obsidian still beefing on YouTube? And what was the genesis of that beef? Just give us the Reader's Digest version. Why did you guys have this falling out? Because you guys used to be cool, man. I remember the very first time I talked to you on the air, I was actually at Obsidian's house. Back last Thanksgiving, right? And so what happened? What happened? And are you guys cool? Have you guys squashed it? What's going on?
No, I wouldn't say we squashed it. But I mean, I said recently in one of my video podcasts that, and I didn't reference him by name, but I was talking about any black male host who's been coming after me, that they need to just do them and let me do me. So Obsidian is always going to be Obsidian. Alan Roger Currie is always going to be Alan Roger Currie. We don't see eye to eye on a lot of issues. Here's the thing, and I'll try to keep this as brief as possible.
No, by all means.
I never had any intentions of having what I would call a personal beef with Obsidian, meaning that it was never my intention to try to change Obsidian or get him to change the format of his show or anything like that.
Okay.
I mean, and here's one kind of at least minor issue I have with Obsidian is that at times he's giving his listeners the impression that the main reason why we've had this falling out is because I have a lot of philosophical differences with his opinions, his viewpoints, etc.
Really? But like what? What philosophical differences do you have?
The reality is, if that was the case, I would have fell out with him a long time ago. Well, here's the thing, man. I've never been a guy, and this might even go against you, Donnie, because I know you got a lot of venom towards sisters, but I've never been a brother who's had a specific issue with sisters as a group.
Okay.
Now, there's certain individual sisters, that I've bumped heads with over the years. I think like any black man has. But when I was on Blog Talk Radio, I did that for 9 years. I never did a single episode where I targeted black women for harsh criticism.
Okay.
And since I've been on YouTube, I've never done an episode where my specific target was black women as a whole. And the interesting thing was when me and Obsidian first became cool, and I reminded him of this, on either the first or second time that I called into his show, I told him, it was more in a lighthearted manner, but I told him, I said, hey man, I've checked out some of your podcasts so far. I like what I hear, but I said, I got to give you kind of one warning though. I notice you target sisters for a lot of your commentary. I said, if I get the sense that you're a brother that just can't stand sisters, I said, me and you gonna fall out.
Okay.
And I told him that was when we cool. I said, me and you gonna fall out, because I said, that's not me. And in other words, I wasn't trying to prevent him from doing it. He's entitled to do whatever he wants to do on his show, on his Blog Talk Radio show, and his YouTube show. But what I was saying to him is, don't expect me to co-sign with you.
Right, right.
So anyway, some people think that's the reason why we don't get along, is because he's harsher on black women than I am and everything related to that. But here's the real issue. Here's the real issue. The issue is Obsidian had proposed some business collaborations between us. One was a book. He wanted to do a book signing event for my book called The Possibility of Sex, because he really enjoyed that book.
Yeah.
He had proposed selling some Mode 1 t-shirts.
Okay.
And I think the third thing, he had proposed somewhere down the line doing a documentary about the state of black male, black female relationships.
Okay.
Which is something I had already tried to do on my own before I met Obsidian. So what happened was, he came into one of my videos in my comment section. And I made the comment in one of my videos that I told guys, I said, if a woman rejects you, leave her alone.
Right.
If you let a woman know your romantic or sexual interest and she lets you know she's not interested, just leave her alone.
Makes sense to me.
I said the problem with a lot of guys is that some guys in society can't handle rejection. Right. And then I referenced guys like Elliot Rodger and George Sordini. I said, these are extreme cases, but these are guys who they couldn't handle being rejected and ignored by women to the point where they went out and killed people because of it.
Right.
And so Obsidian came in my comment section and said, Elliot Rodger is entitled to his preferences. And I said, what does that mean? He said, just what I said. He's entitled to his preferences. And I was like, number one, that ain't relevant to anything I said in my video. Number two, any man is entitled to desire a woman's companionship, but no man is entitled to a woman's companionship.
That's exactly right.
I was basically like, let's make that clear. So that night, after we had the exchange in my comment section, I just wrote him. I said, I was honest with him. I said, hey, dude, I didn't like that Elliot Rodger comment. It almost sounded like you were defending him and or empathizing with him, whether that was your intention or not. And I said, I don't like that. So I can tell you right now, any potential business collaborations we may have had on the table, I'm nixing those now. I'm never going to do business with you. But I let him know also. I said, this is not, again, I said, this is not me personal against you in terms of you being a podcast owner.
This is strictly
basically saying you're entitled to your opinions. But I said, as far as us being business collaborators, I don't want to do business with you. And he had a negative reaction to that. First privately, and then later on through his various podcasts publicly. But again, I'll say this and then I'll shut up about it. He didn't make that clear to his listeners. If he would have specifically told his listeners, hey, Alan Rodger Curry didn't want to do business with me. I had a hard time accepting that, and I'm a little bitter about it. But hey, things happen, we move on. He tried to either directly or indirectly make it seem like I didn't want to have nothing to do with him, again, because of his strong opinions that he expresses on his YouTube channel. And that's not the case.
Okay.
That's not the case. So that's it.
Yeah.
No, we're not cool again.
Okay. Well, listen, I guess the beef hasn't been squashed. Listen, obviously I like Obsidian. I've never had an issue with him. I was actually recently on a show talking about the whole Colin Kaepernick situation. As an aside, one thing that I think that I would definitely do the Mode 1 t-shirts, because my guess is that if I walk out the door with a Mode 1 t-shirt, Alan, I think I'm going to get pussy thrown at me. That's what I think. I think you're missing out. Listen, if you want to squash this beef with Obsidian for one reason, it's for the t-shirts, man. You got Of course I say that in jest, but yeah, listen, that was obviously a great idea. Let's go back to the mass shooter things, because I have an opinion on this, and I'm not sure if you would. And here's the thing: you and I see black women very differently. That doesn't mean that you and I are going to have a falling out. You and I, we're grown men. We can have an honest conversation. We can agree. We can disagree. We can move on with life. We can have a beer, and we can keep it moving. That's how it works. And while I'm at it, I actually, you know what? Before I get into this, I remember I had a Twitter spat with you. And I don't think I've told anybody about this other than people that said it. I was out of line. And I've never publicly said that, but I was up and coming. You know, I had a little bit of notoriety. I was kind of feeling myself, and I had no idea who I was talking to at the time. So man to man, my bad on that. I meant no disrespect. Obviously, knowing who you are now, yeah, I did something really foolish and stupid, and
I must have forgot about this. I don't remember this.
No, I remember this. Listen, I have a very long memory, and you know what? Here's this: you are lactose intolerant. How about that? I remember that because that came up. That came up in the Twitter beef. I'm glad that you forgot about it because I never have. And it was funny because when I went to Obsidian's house to do the live remote with him, I remember talking to you on the radio. I was like, oh my God, this is the guy that I was going back and forth with on Twitter. And I thought to myself 5 minutes in, I was like, holy shit, this guy's awesome. Like, I got to do it. I got to apologize to this guy. So for me to you, my bad. Listen, that was all on me. I jumped the gun, jumped the shark. Obviously, I had no idea who you were. And you know what they say, man, you got to respect your elders. You are an elder of the game. And to be honest with you, I learned a lot from you. So my bad on that, jumping the gun and making it like I'm a big dog there.
Now, see, Donovan, that was just your very nice way of saying, damn, Alan, you're an old motherfucker, man. You're an old ass motherfucker, man. I'm still in my prime, but you're an old ass motherfucker.
Shit, man.
So
hey,
I give you the elder status.
I said the elder of game. But listen to this. This is, and I don't really know. And I think that I think I'm right in saying this. I would submit to you, Alan, that mass shooters, which are overwhelmingly men, I think they're all men. Elliot Rodger, I don't know the other ones. The guy Virginia Tech. I would submit to you that mass shooters, one thing that they all have in common is that they are not good with women. And a lot of people can say, well, no, I have never known of a mass shooter. Okay, you think of the Columbine boys, Dylan Klebold and Eric Harris. They were bad with girls. Andres Lubitz, the guy who flew the Germanwings plane. He killed 150 people. Okay, he did it over. None of these men are good with women. And I would submit to you that game saves lives. There is not a man alive who gets pussy on the regular who has ever thought about about entering a building or shooting up a school or anything like that. What do you say about that? Like, what are your opinions on that? Because I think the more successful a man is with women, it's not going to make or break it's not going to make his life, but it could certainly break it if he's not good. What's your opinion on that?
Oh, dude. Well, first of all, I'm going to give you a warning. If it looks like I'm turning my head, I'm not really per se distracted, but I want to make my YouTube channel listeners aware of this interview. So
absolutely. Yeah. Tweet it out. And while you're doing that, shout out to Jamaican Peppa with the $10 super chat to Donovan and ARC 1-2 punch. You're goddamn right. Shout out to Freelance Ronan of the Mod Squad. Says TSR in mode 1 in full effect. Shout out to Truth from Troy with the $10 super chat. He says, quote, I got good at picking up attractive women, but now I'm in a great relationship. Any tips on resisting the urge to pick up new women and remain faithful besides the usual more self-control? Alan, I'll let you tackle that one.
Let me hear the question again.
He says, I'm good at picking up attractive women, but now I'm in a great now that I'm in a great relationship. Any tips on resisting the urge to pick up new women and remain faithful besides the usual more self-control? What do you say to that?
Oh, well, I say this. One thing I talk about in my book, The Beta Male Revolution, which is my best-selling paperback, is I distinguish between what I refer to as obligatory monogamy and natural monogamy.
Okay.
And what that simply means is if you're in a relationship and the only reason you're being monogamous is because you feel like you're supposed to be, or your partner's making you feel obligated to be, that's obligatory monogamy. And in the long run, that's never going to work.
No.
You shouldn't even try to make that work. It's not going to work.
Okay, that makes sense.
Whereas natural monogamy simply means you have a natural desire because you're so into the person you're in a relationship with. Even if they gave you the green light to fuck other people, you'd be like, no, I just want to fuck you.
Right.
That's natural monogamy, and which is rare as hell. But that's the only monogamy you should pursue. So all that to say that for this guy, if he has to really, really suppress his desire, to want to fuck other women other than his girl, then that means he ain't really into natural monogamy. He's doing obligatory monogamy, and that ain't gonna work. That's gonna backfire.
Okay, yeah. If he has to ask, if he has to ask the question, it sounds like he's already being tempted. Listen, if you gotta holler at other chicks, I got a tip for you: don't get caught. Listen, man, I've had listen. That is the number one rule. Listen, guys, go back and listen to episode 20, the 10 side chick commandments. Rule number 1: do not get caught. Women, listen, women don't want you to cheat on them, but they like to know that you could. That doesn't mean that they want you to.
Exactly. I agree with that. Oh, now answer your again. Excuse me for just one second. I'm putting your link in my channel. To answer that question, I agree with that totally, Donovan. About just about all serial killers are guys who are sexually. I wrote an article about that in on this when I used to write for this site called Examiner.com.
Okay.
And and that's basically what I said, man, is that, as a matter of fact, I referenced this in a recent video podcast of mine. I was talking about how a lot of guys think that the most scariest of guys is your common, thug that's in jail or prison with a bunch of tattoos and earrings. But I said, basically, most of those type of criminals, if they did murder somebody, it was something along the lines of personal revenge, like that guy did something to the grandmother, the mother, that type of thing. But I said, most of you guys who want to just like blow up the world, as the Dark Knight, when they talk about the Joker, they said he just wants to see the world burn.
Right.
Those type of guys are usually guys that are like nerdy, semi-nerdy, or if not nerdy or semi-nerdy, just guys who have had a total lack of success with women romantically and sexually, and they're pissed. Their attitude is, if I can't get no pussy, I don't want anybody. I don't want Donovan Sharp to get no pussy. I don't want Alan Roger Curry to get no pussy. I don't want nobody to enjoy themselves sexually if I can't enjoy myself sexually.
Right.
So I'm going to blow up the fucking world. Man, a movie I highlighted was, did you see this movie called The Source Code?
No, I heard about that, though.
That was a good movie, but I'm going to give kind of a spoiler. So for your listeners, warning, I'm giving
spoiler
kind of a plot giveaway.
Spoiler alert.
Essentially, it stars Jake Gyllenhaal, and he's part of this special government program where he can go back in time, but he can only go back in time for roughly about 10 minutes.
Oh, wow.
He's not like Michael J. Fox in the movie Back to the Future, where, he went back and was able to stay a while. Jake Gyllenhaal, he can only go back in time about 10 minutes. And so what it is, this guy has detonated a nuclear bomb that has blown up multiple cities.
Oh, shit.
And Jake Gyllenhaal they've narrowed the guy who detonated the bomb down to this Amtrak train. And so they put Jake Gyllenhaal on this Amtrak train. He has roughly 10 minutes to identify and stop this guy from detonating the bomb. And long story short, skipping over things, and again, giving a potential plot spoiler, when he finally identifies the guy who actually detonated the bomb, it was so realistic. It wasn't no like common criminal looking type dude. It was this dude looked like he was in college with, a nerd, like he was a chubby guy. He was like somewhat nerdy looking. And when Jake Gyllenhaal basically asked him, like, why do you want to blow up the world? His response was, life is not fair,
Yeah, right.
Some guys get money, some guys get all the girls, and and I'm just a loser, and it's not fair. He wanted to fucking blow up that. And there's really people like that, man.
Yes, there are, man. Yes, there are. And those people lay dormant. Listen, there are two kinds of mass shooters, right? neither of them get laid, but they're the kind of mass shooters that actually have the ideation, and then there are the mass shooters that actually go out and do it. You think these mass shooters are the only guys who think about going out and killing 53 people? No, sir. There are men walking the streets right now who think about doing this stuff, and that I'm telling you right now, the genesis of their frustration is their lack of success with the opposite sex. I can promise you, every time. Listen, there are probably some other issues going on. There are probably some other stuff, but listen, men who get their dick sucked, men who get pussy, dude, we're too satisfied to want to shoot any goddamn body. That's not how it works, man. That's how it works.
There you go. Yeah, I totally 1,000% co-sign. I mean, here's something you ain't gonna never read about. You ain't gonna never read where
I know you're going with this.
Superstar porn star, you know, Lexington Steele.
Lifetime gigolo kills, 23 people on Subway. Nobody knows. No, that's never gonna happen.
That's a story you just never ever gonna read, man.
That's great.
No guy who's getting their dick sucked every day by beautiful women just wakes up one day and says, you know what, I want to kill 100 people.
I said, I want to kill some pussy. Shout out to Eric P for the $2 super chat. Says all-star interview with the great author ARC. Let's move to question number 2 here. You address your haters and your critics a lot in your YouTube videos. So why the hate, man? Like what's with all these people out here drinking haterade? Like why are they hating on you, man? Like you're Alan Roger Curry. Well, where's the love?
Well, hey, dude, let's put it like this. For your question number 2, we could probably do a 2-hour show just on your question number 2. That's how deep that is. Man, it's a number of reasons, man. Number 1, well, some of it is related to what we just talked about. Absolutely. Some of it is related to what we just talked about. There's some guys out here that have this attitude towards me. They're like, oh, Alan, I heard about your Mo 1, or I read your Mo 1 book. And you know what? I went out and approached 10 women and they all slapped me in the face and, called me a creep and was like, ew, you're ugly, get out my face. So your Mo 1 is a bunch of bullshit, man. It doesn't really help, man. And blah, 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 blah. And what I've had to tell men repeatedly, I'm like, hey, I've never promoted Mo 1 as a magic pill. Meaning that if you're a guy that's like 5'3", 450 pounds with 5 rotten teeth in your mouth, and you only take a bath once a week. Whew. I don't care if you read all 4 of my books or listen to all 4 of my audio books. Mo 1 ain't gonna help you. And I'm real with guys about that shit.
Right.
But you got guys out here, so that's one group of haters, is the guys who just feel like, man, all you dating coaches and PUA types, you guys suck. You guys haven't helped me. I'm still living in my grandmother's basement and I haven't getting any pussy in 15 years. Fuck all you guys.
You know what? Here's another brand of haters. Same guys, but then they say, you know what? You guys worship pussy. Pussy's not, dude, we don't like pussy. No way. Like, you guys spend way too much. Nah, bruh. No. You ain't fooling me, man. People love to hate shit that they know they can't have. So they hate on us for getting that. Man, you ain't fooling nobody with that bullshit, man. That's another group out there, the Norbits of the world.
Oh, why did you use that term? I don't know, play on that, but I actually wrote an article about somebody we talked about. I said he represents the Norbits of the world.
Dude, yo, I know exactly. Ooh. Dude, listen, that just came to my head, man. Like, that's what I listen, I was trying to think of the black equivalent to like maybe like the white incel nerd, and I thought Steve Urkel, Norbit, etc.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Wow. Yeah. Listen, definitely a lot of haters out there. But it's good that you do address them. And the men and listen, I get a lot of hate, mostly from females, but anytime when we get female haters, listen, that's expected. And the reason why females hate what we do is because we've given people the keys. We're giving you the answers to the test. See, Alan, women would like to think that they are mysterious and have all these secrets in them, and they're all mystical. Nah, like the common narrative about women, like you go on the internet and look up a women's meme, like how to understand women. It's this thick Bible book. Nah, bruh. Understand. Listen, women are as simple as a fucking doorknob. You just have to understand. You have to understand what makes them tick. That's where red pill truth comes from. Any man who has red pill truth sits back and says, you know what? Women really aren't that complicated. They are every bit as simple as we are as men. But women don't like the fact that we have unlocked the secret. And we figured them out and we're not impressed, and it pisses them off.
Oh, I would agree with that. Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, it's true. It's like once you're what I refer to, well, essentially what you call red pill awareness, and what most people in manosphere call red pill awareness. My nickname also for that is just simply once you're in the know. Once you're in the know, and like you said, you realize women aren't nearly as complex as most of the guys who are very naive and or delusional think they are. Like one thing I've been stressing on some of my recent video podcasts is that it's funny for all the qualities that men like to highlight that represent how different women are than we are, and there surely are characteristics they have that are far different than us. The most underrated qualities about women is how similar they are to us.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, that's what a lot of you guys tend to overlook. And more specifically, one point I made up is simply that you think about guys. Most guys, we don't look at all women we want to have sex with in the same category. We have some women we want to have sex with within the context of a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship or a marriage. We have other women where we say, well, I want to fuck her for the next 9 months. We have other women where we say, well, I'll fuck her for a weekend, and so on and so on and so on. And what I told my male listeners on my YouTube channel recently is that women are the same way. And that's what I said, a lot of you guys don't get that. Women have their categories of men. They have certain guys, they say, oh, I would just fuck him. I would just let him fuck me.
Right.
Then another guy, they say, no, he got to be my boyfriend to get the pussy.
Right.
Then another guy, they like, oh, he got to spend like thousands of dollars on me to get the pussy. And so on and so on. So I said, just like men have their specific categories of different types of lovers, different tiers of lovers, I said women have the same exact thing.
I think that's where a lot of the hate comes from is women. They don't want us to divulge the secrets, and it's men not wanting to come to the harsh reality that you got to be a certain way with women. And the thing is to attract attractive women, it's not an easy life. It is not easy to attract physically attractive women. But because the world tells us that it's easy to do, all you have to do is be the nice guy and be yourself and listen, it's easy to do that stuff. And when men hear evidence or when they hear stuff to the contrary, they lose their shit. That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, number one, what's the most obvious reason why for most guys why it's never going to be easy to attract physically attractive women? The simple analysis is most really attractive women, let's say on that mythical 1 to 10 scale, most women who are 7s, 8s, 9s, and 10s, man, they got so much dick being thrown their way and offered to them on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month basis that if you try to present yourself as simply, hey, I'm the nice guy who's going to bring you flowers on the first date, the attitude is, motherfucker, you know how many motherfuckers that offer me 3 dozen roses just to get a sniff of this pussy? Are you serious?
Yeah, women these days have the ultimate abundance mentality. So this is why women shit test with. This is why they shit test with a fury of 1,000 suns. They're not worried. They're not worried if you fail shit test and if they become unattracted to you. They've got 71 other dudes waiting in line to try to get at her. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's the way that happens. Gentlemen, you are listening to TSR Live with special guest, author, and professional dating coach, Alan Roger Currie. He can be found on Twitter at Alan Roger Currie. That's AlanRogerCurrie. Visit his website, directapproachdating.com, and find his ebooks, his coaching content, and his audiobooks, as well as his podcast, The Erotic Conversationalist. And if you got a girl, go to mode1.net/training. where you'll find content for the both of you. I would also highly recommend that you guys check out his latest audiobook, The Beta Male Revolution, Why Many Men Have Totally Lost Interest in Marriage in Today's Society. And you can also find that on directapproachdating.com. Let me go back to something you said about guys that are 5'3", look like a troll, live in grandma's basement. they could swallow the very concept of mode one. It's not going to work. Here's the thing. There are many strategies to attracting women, just like there are many diets out there to get you fit. What those two things have in common is that most of the time, all of them will work under certain circumstances. But if you don't do it, it's not going to work. You can go on the greatest diet in the world. If you don't do it consistently, it's not going to work. If you employ the mode one strategy with every 10th woman you talk to, you're not going to get laid. You must do it consistently. So when guys say, "Oh, I tried mode one and it didn't work." No, you didn't try it to its fullest extent. You didn't get your hands dirty. You didn't do the difficult part and actually go out and talk to women. I think that's where a lot of guys go wrong, is they read all this theory. Listen, nobody ever learned game by reading shit on their computer for 8 hours a day. You got to go out and talk to women. And just because you don't have the balls to go out and talk to women doesn't mean that Donovan Sharp and Alan Roger Curry don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Exactly. Yeah. Matter of fact, it's funny. I've had to admonish a lot of my clients over the years about that very thing. And recently, I had one of my Patreon exclusive videos where I admonished some of my Patreon subscribers, because I can tell by talking to certain guys. Like, I've had clients / Patreon subscribers that'll write me, and they'll say, "Alan, man, first they'll compliment me. They say, 'Oh man, Mode 1 was awesome, and Who Said Again was awesome,' and I'll say, 'Okay, thank you.' But then they'll say, 'Okay, I'm having this problem, this problem, this problem.' And I'll say, 'Okay, tell me about the last 10 women you approached and had a conversation with.'
There you go.
Well, actually,
I didn't really. I talked to one online. Nah, bruh. Nope.
And they end up basically admitting that they ain't approached like any woman in the last, like, say, 6 months or a year. And I'm like, my books are not going to help you if you're just going to stay in the house and watch TV and play video games every fucking week. The fuck, man? I mean, I appreciate you.
What does he expect to do? Read mode one and have pussy just come and knock at the door? Hey, I see you in there playing video games. I want to give you. No, that's not how it works, homie.
Exactly, man. So I have to light a fire under a lot of these guys' butts, man, because, like, there's some clients of mine. I've gotten so mad. I say, don't even. And I usually want money, man, because that's how I earn a living. But I've actually rejected some guys' consultation requests, because I'm like, man, until you tell me you've approached some new and different women, I'm not having a consultation session with you. Right. I'm not gonna go over the same shit with you, and you ain't approaching no women. You ain't talking to no women.
Right. You can't build if there's no foundation, man. Like, and shout out to Donnell for the $2 super chat. He says, "Instant classic." Shout out to ARC and Donovan. Here's something else that I think you're getting ready to say. ETF42 says mode 1 does not prevent rejection. And that's what a lot of guys think. They think that if they go out and approach every woman with the mode 1 approach or the Donovan Sharp direct approach or whatever the hell I decide to call it at some point in the future, they think that every woman's just going to drop their panties. No, dude. This is what I always this is sort of a scenario that I always tell guys. This is how hard it is, or not how hard it is, but this is indicative of the numbers game that is approaching women. When I was at the peak of my playerdom, now I'm in a committed relationship now, so obviously I'm not out hollering at chicks. But when I was in Vegas, man, and I was up to my fucking eyeballs in pussy, if I approached 10 girls, all right, I'd get 7 numbers. Of those 7 girls that I texted, 4 would respond. Of the 4 that would respond, 2 would agree to a meetup, and at least 1 would flake on me. All right. And the one that didn't flake on me, there's a 50% chance that I might not fuck her. So I approach 10 women. I get 7 numbers. I get 4 to agree to a meetup. I get 4 to respond, 2 to agree to a meetup. 1 is going to flake. Guess what, man? I approach 10 women. You know how long that takes? That's a lot of rejection, man. This is part of the game, dude. And you want to know something? As a man, I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't want it to be easy. I don't want fucking pretty women to be easy, because if it were easy, then every guy would do it.
That's a good point. And I always use the baseball analogy that if you study baseball and statistics, you'll find that just about all the top home run hitters are also the league leaders in strikeouts.
Oh my God, listen, you are not kidding. And I'll take it to the other side. A lot of the power strikeout guys give up a lot of home runs. This is how it works, man. Like, dude, if you throw the fastball, some guys are going to hit the ball out of the park. If you hit enough home runs, guess what? You're going to strike out a lot. This is how it works.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, and matter of fact, speaking on that, I always have to dispel this myth. Like I've had some guys, they'll say, hey, I went to the shopping mall today, Alan, and I used Mode 1 with 5 women, and all 5 women rejected me. So my conclusion is Mode 1 doesn't work.
Oh my
That's
God.
bullshit.
That's fucking ridiculous.
That's bullshit. For any of you guys listening, well, basically, Donovan already said it, but I'm going to reiterate it. Mode 1 was never designed to help men prevent or avoid rejection. Matter of fact, I would say almost just the opposite. Part of Mode 1 is putting you in a position to find out if a woman is not interested in you as quickly as possible. Because see, here's where I'm different than a lot of guys and a lot of these other PUAs, because a lot of PUAs, they teach techniques that center around preventing, avoiding, or at minimum delaying rejection. My attitude is, I don't want to hang out with a woman for 2 to 3 weeks and go to, say, 3 or 4 dinners with her only after the 5th date to have her reject me.
Oh my God.
My attitude is, if I'm going to be rejected, if a woman genuinely is just not interested in me, I want to know that by ideally the end of my very first conversation with her. I don't want to know that after my 10th conversation with a woman.
Check this out. Now, this is not how I really feel, but I'm sort of making a joke about this. If I approach a woman and I take her out on 5 dinners, and on the 6th dinner, she tells me, you know what, Donovan, I like you, but I don't like you like that, I'd be ready to shoot somebody. I mean, straight up. Listen, this is why you get a lot of these mass shooters. They're taking these bitches out to 5 or 6 dinners. They're not getting the pussy. Man, fuck this. I'm going to go teach these bitches a lesson. This is how it works, man. Listen, you have to approach women. Dude, it is a numbers game. And here's the thing, Alan. You could approach a woman who is attracted to you, who would fuck you 9 out of the 10 days a week. It just might be day 10. She might be on her period. She might normally cheat on her boyfriend. Her and her boyfriend might not be on the outs. She might actually happily be married at the time. She might have got, dude, a woman. This is why approaching a lot of women is paramount, because women will reject you, and it will have nothing to do with the fact that they are not attracted to you. Dude, I used to get rejected by women who were attracted to me all the time. Dude, the stars just weren't aligned, man. And I'll admit, even though, listen, I fuck probably more women than the average man, and a handful of 9s and 10s. Dude, when you approach 9s and 10s, the stars have to align, man. I'm not going to sit here and say that luck didn't have anything to do with me getting lucky that night. You just have to be in the right place at the right time, but you've got to have the right game. You don't get lucky. Luck equals opportunity plus preparation. So if the opportunity comes your way, you need to be prepared, because if you're not getting lucky.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I co-sign with everything you said. Yeah, man. And the thing about it, man, here's what I tell guys about approaching women and getting rejected. I actually did a Blog Talk Radio episode one time where I said rejection in its own way can actually help you improve your self-confidence.
Yes, of course, every time.
Guys were like, oh, that's impossible. What do you mean? How can you get rejected? Because, see, this is what people don't realize. A large part of confidence comes from simply taking action.
Right.
Taking action. And if you go out today or this weekend, and if you're a guy listening, and you approach, say, 5 women, 10 women, 15 women, and let's say in worst case scenario, all 15 women rejected you, that's still going to give you a confidence boost, because you didn't sit at home and give in to the paralyzing fear of not taking any action. You went out and took action. And that fact alone is going to give you, and you're going to realize that rejection, you didn't lose like one of your ears. You didn't, your nose didn't fall.
You're not going to fall over and die if a woman rejects you. It happens all the time.
Exactly. It just happens, man. Shit happens, man. And truthfully, another little side note, some of y'all better be glad that some of these women reject you. I mean, it's like,
man, I'm gonna tell you what, listen, they could take you for a ride, they could lead you on, make you think they want to fuck you, and just be using you for expensive dinners. I'm telling you, it happens. It happens, man.
See, that's what I call in my books. I have 4 archetypes of women I highlight in my books, and one of them is what I refer to as a manipulative time waster.
That's right.
You always want, here where I say all 4 of them. There's reciprocators. That's a woman that once you lay out your desires and interests, she's going to pretty much immediately reciprocate your desires and interests.
Okay.
A rejector, self-explanatory. You lay out your desires and interests, she's going to say, I'm not interested. the wholesome pretender / erotic hypocrite. That's the woman that deep down wants to give you some pussy, but she wants to also hold on to her good girl image and reputation.
Right.
So she's going to try to resist you, whether it be for minutes, hours, days, weeks. She's going to try to convince you that she's the innocent, wholesome, good girl, and she don't want you to know she's a kinky freak. And then finally, the manipulative time waster. Manipulative time waster is just a delayed version of a rejecter. That's a woman, like Donovan just said, that's a woman who's not going to reject you like right when you lay out your desires and interests. What she's going to say is, oh, Frank, wait a minute, let's get to know each other and let's go out to this 5-star French restaurant.
Oh, shit, there it is.
You know, and she's going to have you do all this shit, spending all this time with her, spending all this money on her. And then, like I talked about earlier, after, like, say, the 5th date, the 10th date, she's going to say, you know what, Brian, I think you're a great guy. You have a great personality, right. But you're going to make someone.
Right. There it is. You're going to make someone really happy one day. Whoever you end up with is going to be so lucky.
Dude, Donovan, I did a presentation in Chicago in 2012. And this particular presentation was different than most of mine, because most of mine are either pretty much all men, or if they're co-ed, it's usually mostly men. But I did this one, it was for this meetup group in Chicago. And it was probably like, I want to say it's like 75, 80% women, black women. And I got to a point in my presentation where I was talking about the talk. I was telling the fellas, I said, matter of fact, I think I might have been talking about manipulative time wasters. I said, what basically I was telling fellas, I said, one of the things manipulative time wasters will do is they will waste your time, they will waste your money. And then when they're ready to dismiss you, they're going to say, Frank, we need to talk. And immediately, this section of sisters in the speaking engagement, they just start giggling uncontrollably.
Yes, because they know.
And then when I did the impersonation that I just did, man, Donovan, some of them were bending over. They were falling out because they knew I had them on point. They knew I had them. Like, some women were pointing at me like, damn, he got us down. He know us. He know it. Because I thought about it. But yeah, that's one of the classic lines they'll say when they get you to talk. They'll say, you're going to make someone else a great boyfriend, a great husband. You're going to make them so happy.
I just want to let you know you're a really great guy. Like, first and foremost, I just want to let you know I love you to death.
Yeah. Every time. They lay it on thick to reject you. That's what they do. Shout out to Carlos Jean with a $7.14 super chat. Said #proud Patreon to both of you gents. Great topic. Speaking of black women, let's move to the next episode here. I've got about 20 minutes because my girl has a company event that I'm escorting her to.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, we'll do this about 15, 20 minutes. A lot of guys out there say that you defend black women who should not be defended. You mentioned it earlier about the fact that Obsidian and myself, we are very, very tough on black women, whereas you, not so much. Is that true? False? Somewhere in between? What's the explanation on that?
Yeah, man, I've never been a brother, man, particularly since I've been into article writing as well as podcasting that goes after sisters as a group. Now, I've had some both private as well as even a handful of public individual beefs with certain black women that I didn't hesitate to, go in on them if I felt like they deserved it. But I've never been one to do a podcast episode called, something along the lines of all black women.
10 reasons you shouldn't date black women.
Yeah, I just, because the honest, and I've kind of said this, and some people have accused me on my YouTube channel of being, as one brother put it, his name is Tony Maceo. He said, Alan, sometimes you be rubbing your balls in dudes' faces. Talking about the success you had with some of your women. But I tell guys, man, specifically brothers, I say, man, most of the women, and particularly black women I've dealt with in my life, man, they treated me like a fucking king, man. I mean, I've had group sex with black women. I've had threesomes with black women. I mean, I've had black women pay my bills.
Wow.
At times, I've had black women give me their cars to use, buy me clothes.
Wow.
So I just haven't had the same negative experiences that a lot of brothers have, and that's not to discount. I mean, if a guy has generally had nothing to say but negative experience with black women, I feel like if he wants to speak on that, he should. But I'm saying, don't ask me to co-sign with it and say, hey, Alan, you need to be like, well, I'll say Obsidian by name. There's been a couple times Obsidian will say something about black women, and he'll make a statement like, guys like Alan Roger Curry should be saying this. Guys like Alan Roger Curry should be co-signing with this. No. If I ain't had the same experiences as you, why would I co-sign with it?
Okay. That's fair.
And that goes for any black male. If I haven't had the same experiences as you, and more specifically negative, like another guy I'll call by name, a guy who goes by the name Steve D. Williams. We had multiple fallings out because of his attitudes towards black women versus mine. Like he said on air one time, he said, I hate black women. I hate them. And I was like, dude, I can't roll with you on this. Because he wanted me to co-sign with it. And I said, dude, I can't co-sign with this shit, dude. I don't have no issues with sisters as a group, as an entire group. I don't have problems with sisters. For me, because I've dealt with a lot of women. I've dealt with white women. I've dealt with Asian women. I've dealt with Hispanic women. And all of them, in my opinion, all of them have their strengths and weaknesses. They don't have the exact same strengths and weaknesses. Like white women's flaws might be totally different than black women's flaws, but they still have them.
Sure.
Same with Asian women, Hispanic women. They have their own set of flaws, man. And so that's my thing, man. I tell guys, man, I'm not going to treat black women like they're 10 times more flawed than other women when that hasn't been my experience.
I agree with that. And I think that when anybody talks about anything, it is based strictly on personal anecdotes. Anytime anyone feels strongly about something on one side or the other, it's not based in theory. It's based on anecdotes. It's based on actual experience. And I think what a lot of guys have to realize is that not everybody has the same sensibilities. Obviously, your sensibilities are, I mean, listen, man, and I'll give it to you, I'll give it to you straight. Any man who can get black women to have group sex, pay his bills, and let him use her car, you got some fucking game with you, bro. I gotta give it up. Listen, man, I've got serious fucking game. I don't have that kind of game. I'll give it up, man. Like for serious. That takes some, like, yeah, you really are rubbing your balls in people's faces with that one, for sure. For sure. But again, you and I, we have different opinions on black women. That doesn't mean that you're any more right or wrong than I am right or wrong. Dude, we're two different people. We have different sensibilities. We come from different generations. I mean, listen, black women from one generation are different from generation to generation. This is how it is. And who knows, maybe there are quality black women out there. If they're out there, I haven't met them. Maybe there are guys out there, maybe there are black men out there who date quality black women on the regular. That's fine. He can do a podcast about it. But just because somebody doesn't share, I think what's really important is that anytime that I have a disagreement about something with someone, you can always tell when they are giving you the company line. They're parroting off of what other people say, using someone else's words. And when I talk to you, even though we disagree about black women, I know that you are coming from a place of I don't even know if this is a word, from genuosity. Like you are genuine with your experiences. You're not giving me lines. You didn't read something off the internet and then come on and say it. This is what you've actually experienced, and this is your truth. Okay, that doesn't mean that I'm telling a liar that I'm wrong, but I know that you're coming from a place of genuineness.
See, dude, I think this whole interview has been good, but these most recent comments you just made, man, was so on the money, man. Because you hit so many valid points, man. Number one, yeah, again, looking at you and I relationship, I know how strongly you have harshly criticized black women at times. But it hasn't caused us to fall out, among other reasons, is because you made it the most interesting and valid point. You said everybody has their own anecdotal experiences.
Right.
That forms their beliefs, their attitudes, their opinions. And as long as people keep that in mind, I did a whole episode on my channel called Subjective Truth versus objective truth. And some of my haters and critics criticize that episode.
Right.
But a lot of people, a lot of other guys, they love that episode because they know I told the truth. And the analogy I gave is I said, let's say, Donovan, you had two friends that came to Chicago where it was, let's say it was 65 degrees in Chicago.
Okay.
You had one friend was coming from a city where it was 35 degrees.
Woo.
And he came to Chicago where it was 65. Then you had another friend that was coming from a city where it was 95 degrees. And he's coming to Chicago where it's 65 degrees. Do you think those two friends of yours are going to have the exact same perspective on how it feels in Chicago?
Wow. That, you know what? That is, I think that's probably the best analogy I've ever heard in that regard. I've never thought of it that way. That makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah, because the person who came from the 95-degree city, they're never going to be able to convince the person who came from the 35-degree city that it's nippy.
Right.
Even though to them it's going to feel nippy.
Right.
And vice versa. The person who came from the 35 degrees city is never going to convince the 95 that it feels hella warm.
Right.
Because to them it's not.
Wow.
And I told people that's how you got to look at different perspectives and different people's experiences, man. You got to always acknowledge that some people have experienced things that are just far different than yourself, and that contributes to their set of beliefs, their set of attitudes, etc. That's what I call it social programming. And
well, listen, in all honesty, the reason why you and I haven't fallen out is because I'm trying to get on them t-shirts, bruh. Like, that's what I'm Well, let's go ahead and I'm going to skip over question number 4. Let's talk about the last question, which headlined this topic here. We've got about 10 minutes to go here. What do you think is the future of monogamous marriages in this country? Because obviously in the manosphere, the red pill sector, the brother pill sector, listen, man, people can call us cynical. I call us realists. And me, the future of monogamous marriages is going to be bleak. Something has to get worse before it gets better. It feels like we're at critical mass, but something tells me it's not going to get any better. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh no, I mean, I'll preface by saying it's not like I have any type of scientific evidence to prove any of these assertions I'm about to say, but I think marriage in as early as 20 to 25 years from now, no less than by the end of the decade, the idea of strictly monogamous marriages is going to become obsolete. Wow. It's going to become obsolete. I think every decade, the appeal of long-term monogamous relationships in general, and particularly strictly monogamous marriages, is just diminishing. I would say by members of both genders, and particularly on the male end.
Right.
See, here's what people don't understand, though, about monogamy and marriage. I'm going to plug this book. It's by a woman named Stephanie Coontz. It's called A History of Marriage, How Love Conquered Marriage. Man, it's a great book that if guys like to read, I think they might have an audiobook version of it, but I'll give the kind of cliff notes. In a nutshell, what Stephanie Coontz, and I'd heard this from talking to a couple guys. I remember I talked to this guy from Europe who broke down a lot of stuff that Stephanie Coontz breaks down in her book.
Okay.
A lot of people think marriage has been around since the beginning of time, but it hasn't. Marriage is in the big scheme of things, compared to how many years and centuries human beings have been on Earth. Marriage is a fairly new concept. More specifically, monogamous marriage. Right. Monogamous marriage is actually only about 4,500 to 5,000 years old. And that sounds like a lot of years, but when you consider human beings have been on Earth,
the world is billions of years old, and human beings have been we've been on the planet for quite a while.
And so that's one thing she argues is that marriage is a fairly new concept, and even more so the idea of monogamous marriage. Actually, back in the day, pretty much all men and women were a combination of either promiscuous, polyamorous,
okay,
or if they were married, it was a polygamous marriage. It was polygamous marriage what ruled the world as far as the people who did get married. What changed things primarily was two things. I would narrow down to what I call the two P's. There were two P's that changed things,
okay,
where that caused people to start emphasizing monogamous marriages. One was paternity. See, unlike in today's society, a guy can have a DNA paternity test done.
Oh, yes, yes.
And within hours.
Just go on the Maury Povich show. When it comes to 3-year-old LaMonica, D'Anthony, you are the father.
Yeah, exactly. So, but see, back in the day,
I told you that was your kid, nigga. That was
yeah. See, back in the day, before the days of DNA paternity tests, and before that, I think the most common thing was blood tests. Before either one of those came into existence, a lot of guys felt like marriage was the closest thing to a paternity. It is ensuring that their kids were actually their kids.
Right.
The second P was property. Monogamous marriage came into play to make the transition of someone's material possessions and property that they possess easily transferred to someone else.
Right.
Because they felt like, and even some people today feel like, okay, I use myself as an example. Like, I've never been married. I don't have any kids that I know of. So if I die right now, man, you know, my book royalties would just like be sitting there somewhere. Right. Yeah. All this money would just be accumulating shit.
You won't have willed it to anyone.
Yeah, well, nowadays, you know, they have sophisticated ways of willing, you know, possessions and your estate to different people. But anyway, back in the day, Kuntz and other people pointed out that what she basically says in the book is that this whole idea of like romantic love, she said that's even a real more recent thing. She said basically that has started to around roughly the 18th century, where people started associating feelings of love and romance with marriage. She said basically in the early going, it was for practical reasons. Again, the main two was paternity and property transfer. Paternity and property transfer. So anyway, getting to today's society, man, the way, among other things, the way feminism changed things and made it, Donovan, you and I both know, but maybe some of your listeners don't know. See, before the days of feminism, man, there was a stigma associated to a woman even thinking about fucking outside the context of marriage.
That's right.
I mean, they would be at minimum shamed by their families and in some cases disowned. But as we all know, feminism changed that, what they call the second wave of feminism, which happened primarily in the 1960s, early 70s.
Yeah, the sexual revolution.
And yeah, along with the sexual revolution. So without getting too lengthy academic, now it's acceptable for women to explore their sexuality and fuck multiple guys. But the problem is, as it relates to marriage, ain't too many guys, particularly now at the height of the manosphere and red pill awareness and red pill rage, man, ain't no guys trying to marry a woman who they feel has had, 35 dicks in their pussy and shit.
Fuck that, dude. Hell no. You mean to tell me this woman's mouth has been on 167 cocks? That's the mouth that's going to kiss my kids goodnight? Fuck that.
Yeah, because see, another thing I point out in the debate, man, let's see, a lot of men, one of the reasons why a lot of men didn't want to marry women was actually not just so much for their own attitudes and feelings, whatever, but no man wanted their kid, particularly a son, to find out that his mother was a whore, because they just found that a lot of men don't take kindly to that. They have real, like a lot of men become like kind of mentally imbalanced when they find out that their mother was,
that mom was a side chick. Yes.
Yeah, a whore and type shit. So, a lot of men wanted to have a quality, prudish, strictly monogamy, right now, again, not only just for their own purposes, but for their sons. And so now the thing is, see, women, here's the thing with women, and I point this out repeatedly. Women always want their non-sexual attention and companionship to be valued.
That's right.
They always want that to be valued. And Donovan, what does marriage do? What does marriage do for women that it doesn't necessarily do for men?
It validates their non-sexual needs. That's exactly what it does.
For you guys who didn't realize that, that's what marriage does for women, among other things. Marriage, when you put a ring on a woman's finger and she has a wedding ceremony.
Yes, you are chosen.
What it announces to society is that at least two things. It announces that this woman At least one man found this woman worthy of raising his children, being a co-parent to his children. And secondly, it validates that that woman's non-sexual attention and companionship is worth investing time in.
Wow.
Whereas on the flip side, the reason why women hate being called a slut is because when you call a woman a slut, you're basically saying that woman is only worth being spent time with sexually. Non-sexually, she ain't worth spending time with. And no woman wants that reputation.
Nope, they do not. And women don't want that reputation because they don't want to be defined by their vaginas, right? But here's the thing. If you're fucking every nigga on the block, you are going to be defined by your vagina, which is why marriage is important to sluts in the first place. That's what it is.
Donovan, the way you express stuff, it always makes me want to say, tell me how you really feel, Donovan.
Listen, those who listen to me on the regular, man, I do not listen, man. And it's like you can see the veins bulging in my head every once in a while, man. I try to dry my face off from all of this sweat and this glistening and everything.
You are the king of not mincing words.
Yeah, listen, guys. Listen, there is never any confusion as to where I stand on certain issues. Alan, it's been a pleasure tonight, my friend. We definitely got to do this more often. You are an excellent interview. Thank you very, very much for making time for us tonight, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, and I'm gonna give this quick bonus at the end of this interview.
Let's
for
do it.
all you guys who are listening who do not have a copy of my updated version of Mode 1, the ebook. The first 3 guys who send me an email to coaching@mode1.net, coaching@mode1.net, MODEONE.net, you'll receive a free complimentary copy of my updated version of the Mode 1 ebook.
First 3 guys, coaching@mode1.net.
Mention that you listened to this interview, the Donovan Sharp interview.
Yeah,
Mention
right.
it in your email.
Right. Let's see. Code word veins bulging. Right. Code word veins bulging. Code word t-shirts. Right. The Pussy Man. Alan, thanks. Is there anything else you want to plug?
Oh, no. Well, just my website, directapproachdating.com.
Absolutely. And I will put that all in the description.
Okay, yeah, since you got my description. Just again, man, thank you, Donovan. I love what you do, man. Continued success to you, and I appreciate you having me as a guest again.
Thank you very much again for making time for us, man. We definitely got to do this sometime.
For sure.
Donovan Sharp out.